Every day I feel like I'm getting a little bit smarter. These puns are bad. Welcome back to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're doing a quick look at the new Firma 2-in-1 ESC brushless motor combos. This is not a new thing. This has been done before. Hobbywing started this 2-in-1 revolution. This is a brushless motor with an ESC built into it, all in this space. There's nothing else. There's a power cable, a battery cable, and a JST to go to a receiver. That's all there is. It's all contained in this one unit, which is pretty amazing, I have to say. As for specs, it is a 40 amp ESC, so 3S LiPo capable. It does have an internal BEC that's switchable between 6 and 7.4 volts. Spektrum is doing it in two different KVs, 1400 and 2300 kV. This is the 1400 kV. The 2300 kV version that I have here was already installed in the Gmade GSO2F Buffalo. And I've got some running footage that we'll be showing throughout this video to give you an idea of the performance of that motor. I went for 2300 kV because I do prefer a bit more power from my brushless motors. The 1400 kV would be more suited to something like a trail truck, I think. And, you know, with an appropriate size pinion, you'll get plenty of wheel speed. But the really kind of the big draw here is that this is an ESC and a motor all in one. And it's pretty amazing. This is a 540 can motor. It is slightly larger in diameter than a typical 540, but that's okay. It'll fit in most trucks. Some trucks with some modification, it'll fit just fine. But really, the crux of it is you're saving space and weight and complication by putting everything all in one. And there's some really interesting features in these Spektrum 2-in-1s that we'll go over here. The first, of course, and probably the most interesting one, is Spektrum's version of FOC, or FOC, that Hobbywing's been using in theirs. What FOC is, field-oriented control, essentially is a throttle matching system. So let's say your truck comes up to an obstacle and you don't touch the throttle. In other motors, brushed and brushless, it could stall out ever so slightly. Which loses a bit of momentum, and you have to apply a bit of throttle to get over that obstacle. The idea behind throttle matching, or FOC as it's called on other motors, is that it maintains that level of momentum regardless of the obstacle. So if it finds itself approaching an obstacle and there's a bit more torque required, it'll apply that torque and maintain speed in order to get up over that obstacle. And it's a pretty great bit of tech. I really like how it works. When you want it to work, it does work really well. When you don't want it to work, it tends to be a bit of an interesting experience in terms of how the motor responds. When throttle matching tends to not work very well is when there isn't much load on the motor. So, for example, going down a hill, you can actually see the truck trying to sort of keep up with itself, and it's adjusting the speed of the motor in order to maintain that speed, which, as it's going downhill, should constantly be increasing because of gravity. It's an interesting dynamic between when FOC works really well and when it doesn't, and that's one of those cases. But certainly not a deal breaker for what is excellent value and excellent space saving and weight saving. These are pretty fantastic setups, and I'm happy that they're on the market. I'm happy Spektrum brought them out, and it's great to see a bit more manufacturers taking this technology and using it to move their product lines forward. So like I said, there is a 2300 and a 1400 kV option for the Spektrum 2-in-1s. There are a few things that I'm not super keen on when it comes to the Spektrum version. And one of those things is that you do require the latest Spektrum Smart Technology programming card in order to program any of the settings on this motor. You cannot adjust it any other way. There is no programming through the power button. Everything has to be done through the programming card, and it has to be this new one. It can't be the older Dynamite V1s. It has to be the Spektrum V2. So in order to make any changes whatsoever, you're going to need this card. And this isn't included, so you do have to buy it separately. That's one thing I'm not super fond of. I get why they did it, but it's still one of those things that's a tiny bit annoying. Secondly, say for some reason you decided not to purchase the programming card and you were happy with how it was set up out of the box. And its settings out of the box are pretty good. The drag brake is set properly, and it is kind of set up to be a crawler-specific motor and ESC combo, so you probably won't need to make many adjustments. Unless, of course, you have a straight axle SCX 10.3, like the new Bronco. Then you will need the programming card because this is set up to work in counterclockwise motion, which is the way the portal axle trucks are. Because when you add the portals, you're adding another level of reduction and the axles are turning in the opposite direction. So it works great in those trucks, but out of the box, it doesn't work so great in the straight axle trucks. So I would pick up the programming card if you're going to be getting one of these. Additionally, if you happen to have a programming card from Hobbywing, it also won't work. You still need the Spektrum branded V2 programmer cards. So, yeah. Otherwise, aside from those two things, this is a pretty great combo. And I really am happy that there are two options, 1400 and 2300. I would love to see a 3300 kV version. That would be amazing. One other benefit of the Firma over the Hobbywing 2-in-1 Fusion is that this is a shorter can. So it will fit in more trucks right out of the box. One of the biggest questions I've gotten is, will this fit in the S410 Phoenix? Not right out of the box, no. There is a little tiny bit of material that you will need to shave away in order to make it fit. But I can't confirm nor deny it because I haven't done it yet. One final thing to note, Spektrum usually labels their electronics as smart capable. This is one of the only ones in the range that isn't smart capable. It doesn't have any telemetry features. It won't function any differently with your smart branded radios or receivers. It is dumb, for lack of a better term. But again, not a huge negative, especially if you're not in that world. You know how I know there's no smart telemetry? There's no third wire on the IC3 connector. So you're free to cut this off. You're not going to lose anything, and you're not certainly going to gain anything by running this if that's not the battery type that you use. You may have noticed behind me this light here. This is from Novamos, and it is designed to be a ring light, something that would go around the outside of this camera lens to give you a more bright experience for your Zoom calls or whatever. But as you can see, it also doubles as a nice decorative element. And the really cool thing about this is that it does come apart and you can make almost any shape, and you can connect multiple systems if you want to create even bigger rings or bigger letters or whatever you might have. It is a pretty cool thing. It does have a bunch of different features, including many different levels of brightness and different light temperatures, so you can adjust them based on the room and the white balance that you need in order to make yourself look as good as possible for all your viewers out there as you're working from home. I think it's pretty cool though. It's a nice little system. It does also come with a tripod, camera mount, and a bunch of desktop mounting elements as well. So pretty cool system. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in picking one of those up too. So while it isn't without its problems, I think the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. Definitely a nice system. All in all though, I do think this is a pretty great setup. If you already have one of these programming cards, you're golden. And if you don't need to make any changes, again, you're golden. But prepare yourself for buying one of those programming cards. I'll be sure to put links down below for both of these things. Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon.